appreciate it when Mary sings. We'll move Gumby. He doesn't listen to preaching very well. I'm just afraid I'm going to hit him and knock him flying in and hit Gene upside the head with a Thunderbird. That would be bad. I appreciate the songs that Mary chooses to sing. I love our music here. I really do. And the songs she chooses always make you stop and think. And they always make you think about how good your God is. I appreciate that song very, very much. And we don't have songs here to entertain. It's not what they're for. It's to draw our hearts to the Lord and to worship Him. That's what it's all about. And so tonight we're going to do a couple different things to begin the message. My part of the preaching time is not very long, but we got 3 other people going to say something before I do. So now y'all really nervous, aren't you? We're going to have a couple testimonies. It's amazing. This time of year gets really, really busy. You ever notice that? There's a lot of preaching meetings that happen this time of year. Just within the last week, just a week ago, there was a great meeting down in Toledo at Hope Baptist down there. They had their pastors' conference, and I just couldn't get away to go down there. I wanted to. And then there's several other meetings going on. This last week, of course, was the soul winning conference over there at Crosspointe Baptist Church in Waterford, and we did go for a couple nights of that. And some of these meetings, I haven't gone in the last 5 years to very many, just because it's difficult to get there with all the other stuff you got going on. But it's sometimes good just to go anyhow, and that's kind of the way we. I had to be there Friday night because they wanted to do a presentation, but Ron and I decided we're going to go Thursday, and I'm so glad we did. And I heard Brother Jenkins preach, and man, it was awesome. Brother Jenkins just, man, you've heard him preach. Every time he preaches, I get something from God every time. And the same was true with Brother Hamblin, just amazing messages, and I was encouraged by that. I'll tell you one thing, other thing that encouraged me, I was sitting in that service and I'm watching a guy on the platform, like, I know him. Why do I know him? I realized the last time I had seen him, he was about that tall. It's Glenn Seymour. His dad's Dr. Dan Seymour was a Navy doctor in the church where we're at in Florida. We were there when he surrendered to the mission field. And Brother Seymour and I were soul winning partners for a long time. And the year we left to go pastor, he left to go to the mission field. And they went to Honduras and served there. Then another country, I forget where. Honduras got too dangerous. They went to another country, I forget where. And that's where Glenn grew up, on the mission field. And now he's been the assistant pastor there for 11 years. He's our Spanish pastor. And just doing a great work for God. Looks just like his dad. When I first saw, that's why I knew him. Like, why do I know that man? Like, I don't know him. Yeah, I know who that is. That's Glenn Seymour. And you say, why are you bringing that up? Because there's a second generation serving God. Like, man, that is a blessing. And his dad now teaches at House Anderson College and is one of their main guys in their mission board. And I love watching people that just serve the Lord for a lifetime and then watch the next generation do the same. And what a blessing. And so we enjoyed that. And then, this last week was football camp. The same week was Brother Green down in Lansing. They did their camp week for their teenagers this week. And they really wanted us to come. Like, well, we got a problem with that because we're sending Logan to football camp because he needs it. And no, we believe in football camp. I just know I know how it helped my boys and the other young men who went, and we wanted him to go. And so there's just so many things going on. You can't get to all of them. Right. And you got to pick and choose. But I do think it's important to make the effort to go to some of these meetings you hear us announcing. It's important to go. It's good sometimes to get outside the church where you attend, see there are other people who believe the Bible like you do, that love the Lord. We sometimes get this Elijah mentality. We're the only ones. No. The greatest blessing I had as an evangelist was every week I was in a church like this, sometimes 2 a week. Believe just like we do, believe in soul winning, carry the King James Bible, try to live it, love people. There are churches like that everywhere. We just don't hear about them. Amen? We get so caught up in what we're doing, we kind of get tunnel vision. So it's good to go. And I know that in just a couple weeks, they're having a camp meeting up at Brother Jenkins. And when I talked to him Thursday night, I said, brother, I've never been to your place. I've driven by it 3 times, but I've never stopped and returned in the driveway. He said, well, why haven't you been up there? I said, you never invited me. But I'm going to slip up for a day or two of that meeting Brother Fisher will be up there. Brother Shirley will be preaching, and I'm going to slip up for a day or two. It ought to be 2 days. You don't just run up there one day and come back. Just because I want, I want to see their place. I've heard a lot about their meeting, but it's important to do that. And I've asked Jill Shaw to come and just give a little bit of a testimony about the Friday night they were there and in the service. And it really was an encouraging service, just kind of push a little bit about serving the Lord. So Jill, if you come, and guys, we'll just stay with the pulpit mic for a while till I get back up after all the other testimonies. We'll do that. So thank you, Jill.
I don't know why I need to say anything. He said everything I was going to say. I said to Mark, I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
Just say whatever you want to say.
Okay. Well, when Pastor hesitantly mentioned that he was going to get an award at this meeting on Friday, it's like God said, you need to go. You need to go. It's in Waterford, and, I work in Troy, and how am I ever going to get there at 7 o'clock? And apparently God was telling my husband the same thing, because he said, we should go. It's our pastor. We should be there. And we're proud. And so we said, okay, we'll go. We'll just go. We'll just figure it out. So he took me to work and picked me up, and then we grabbed something to eat and drove out there because we couldn't get back home and get out there in time. But so we were tired, but we wanted to go, and I was excited about going. And what Pastor said, I was excited to see the young preacher. He was like a crazy man, but it was encouraging because he's young, and he was preaching, and he was serving the Lord, and you could see it, and that was really encouraging. It was good to hear Brother Hamlin again. It's been a long time, and the things that he said, I think he really encouraged my husband a lot, and I enjoyed listening to him, and he's a little bit older, and he's still doing what he's supposed to be doing and what God wants him to do, and I was also excited, just like Pastor said, being there, and wow, these, I felt very much at home in the church, and there's other people out here and way out in Waterford that are doing what God has asked them to do, and they're living like they're supposed to be living, just like us, and we're not the only ones. We really aren't the only ones. So, and yes, we were tired, and it was an effort, but it was a blessing, and usually that's what happens when, God says, go, okay, and then he gives you something, and I was really proud that, that's my pastor. I was very proud about that, and I was glad that we could be there to support him. And I know how hard it is for everyone to get out there, but we were glad that we were there, just to let them know that we love them and we're proud of them, and so glad that they were obedient to what God had called them to do in Michigan. So it was a blessing for me.
I don't know if I should be offended. She talked about how that Brother Hamlin's a little older. He was born in March of the year. I was born in July. So we had that discussion, and I'm like, wait a minute. Yes, Brother Cooper looks like he's 12. I don't know how old he is. I have no idea. I think he's probably in his late 20s, might be early 30s. But I'm looking, man, they grew him young. And but it was good. And Brother Cooper, he doesn't stand still while he preaches. Their platform has, I think, 5 steps, 6 steps. He'd come up one side, run across there, stop behind a microphone, preach a little bit, then run down there, preach over those steps, run out there, and just was doing laps around the pulpit. And there's a reason why he's only that big around. He probably ran 10 miles about that sermon. And but it's good. I love seeing young people just on fire for God. But like you said, here's Brother Hamlin now been preaching over 30 years, and he was just as excited, just as focused. So praise the Lord for that. Let's see. Brother Logan, hop on down here. Yeah. He is. He's doing well. He'll tell that story, I'm sure. No. Oh, yeah. That's good. All right. All right. But Logan went to this is his second year football camp that they also call man camp. And I want to just take a little time to, talk about the fun part of the football and all of that. But I also want to take a little time to talk about the preaching. And he had Brother Reza as his coach. That's intense, isn't it? Yeah. And that's why I want him to go, because the men, they're all like Brother Ray's, just amazing men that, I mean, think about, these are evangelists and pastors that take a week out of their year because they believe in these young people. It's important to them. Brother Ray's has preached at that camp now for this, what, your 20th year?
I think
20th, I think it's for their anniversary, 19th, 20th year. And he's been there almost every year. Brother Dan Martin's there every year, one of the coaches and those guys. So give us testimony.
Well, just like last year, it was so much fun, and I love playing football, and I love just going there and listening to the preaching. And my favorite night was when he preached on how to fill in the gap and to receive the torch when the other preachers are done, and that really spoke to my heart. That was my favorite one, but I liked all of them, and I liked that one the best. So, good? Or, oh, yeah. I made a decision to, he preached another sermon that I forgot to mention. It was about Shammah in the Old Testament, how he faced, well, your pastor. And I like that one. Really spoke to my heart too. I made a decision that night to be a man for Christ, for Jesus Christ, and to stand my ground no matter who stands with me or not. So.
Those are important decisions those young men make. And those are good decisions. I saw, let me pull out, I think I have it here, where a preacher friend of mine put this out, where he said, if you missed football camp this year, this is what you missed. These are the decisions that were made. There were 8 salvation decisions. Over 200 boys there. There were 19 that surrendered to preach. 2 surrendered to the mission field. Listen to this one. 17 surrendered to keep their calling, where God had already called them. 30 surrendered to do God's will, no matter what it was. 32 surrendered to be more obedient and diligent in their Bible reading and their prayer time. 35 made a decision to be a soul winner. 68 made a decision to get right with their parents. That's revival right there. 11 made decisions to give up wrong relationships. 18 made decisions to give up wrong social media and its use. 15 when we say make a decision, they came to an altar. They prayed. They were prayed with a worker who filled out a decision card. 15 made a decision that they wanted God to help them with their anger issues. I've heard a lot about that message, and brother Dan Martin preached that one, right? Yeah. Now this is young men up through high school age. 12 of them made a decision to give up pornography. 5 made a decision to give up bad music. Now you realize most of these kids are coming from independent fundamental Baptist homes. There were 88 other decisions. Then there were 196 made a decision to take a stand for God in their generation. You can get discouraged by what the news media says, but that encourages me. Because there's some young people that are still listening to God. And I'm going to ask you to pray for our young people. Pray for Logan and the decisions he made. I'm sure he made others that he didn't talk about, and that's okay. Some decisions are good. You just keep to yourself for a while. Remember what Jesus said to one of the men that he healed? Go and tell no man. So just let that sink in, what I did for you, for a while. Sometimes I think we talk too quickly about what God's talking to us about, where sometimes we just need to muse on it for a while. And so please pray for that. And that's why we send young people to football camp, and that's why we'll be taking kids to other camps this next summer. It's that important. So be praying for those decisions. Brother Rich went all week, and he got preached at too, and amen. And I wanted him to come give a testimony about that. And then also this morning he started a new Sunday school class, the RU Sunday school class, to help folks that really struggle in some areas. And we've got some folks that we've been bringing that they didn't grow up in church. Some of the things that you and I take for granted, some things our kids take for granted, they've never been around that, and they need some help with that. And so the class is designed to be really hands-on, and we're not in a hurry. It's very, very slow pace. Just we want to make sure they get it, and we want to help people. It's not how many points of an outline you get through. Is did the people get help, and did they leave different than when they came? And so, Brother Rich, why don't you come give a testimony about the week and what God did in your heart and throughout the week.
There was so much to say, and Pastor's already said a bunch of it, and I'm glad. I mean, when you see a stack of decisions that's that big for the week, you know, I seen something this year that I didn't see last year. And I thought to myself, I didn't see this last year. What I seen was a bunch of coaches that love the kids, that really care. And I got to interact with some of those. I know some of those guys. You know, Brother Areza. You know, Logan didn't say it, but he was praying that he'd get to be with and play for Brother Areza. And he got to do that. And they didn't win a whole lot of games, but I tell you what, they got a lot of help. A lot of help. They got some stuff that'll help them to be a man for Christ. And I was just amazed at the love and the camaraderie. Being around those people all week was just off the charts. It did something for me that was like amazing. And then the preaching and the music. Oh my goodness. It was so good to be there. So good to be there. I just soaked it up. I did go golfing a little bit. I'll confess my sin. But you know what? Even on the golf course, God was with me, and God was teaching me something and giving me something for a wonderful illustration for the class that we had this morning. But I'll tell you what a God. I thought about the young men when I was down there. As I would talk to some of the young, you know, going in and out the door and just being around some of those men, some good kids, being very respectful. I mean, they were getting it. We're not alone. There's a bunch of people coming behind us. It's important for us to finish right. It's important for us to keep going for God. And as Pastor said, all the decisions. You know, we had about an hour and 15-minute invitation on Friday night. Invitation. It didn't bother me a bit. It took Brother Booth about 20 minutes just to read them. And I'll tell you what, that was just so fulfilling that God is working in people's lives and working in these kids' lives, and they have such a desire to serve the Lord. You know, when they would read a decision and they would say the kid's name, the kid would stand up, and then they would read, and whatever it was, if he was giving up some wicked sin, or he was going to get right with God, or he was going to get a better relationship with his parents, I'll tell you, that's priceless, just priceless. I'm sure I'm glad. I tell you what, I wouldn't miss it for nothing. In fact, I might just pay Logan's way next year, but I probably won't. But I'll tell you, it was such a blessing to go. We're not alone, folks. There's a lot of serious Christians out there that are serious about God. All these coaches were so dedicated. There was so much love. By the way, let me tell you this story. I ran into a guy, and John will know this name, Ken Kosick. Is that right? Did I say the name? And I shook his hand. He just reached out. I mean, those people are friendly. And he's, you know, how you doing, this and that, where are you from? And I told him and said, my pastor is Dr. Brandenburg. And he said, really? He said, didn't he have a couple sons? And then he asked me, he said, how are they doing? I said, they're serving God. And he started to cry. That's the dedication of those people that are down there. And I'll tell you what, you can't buy that. You can't buy that. It's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal.